Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. This is a guy, he is 51 years old, and he shares his story about events that happened about 29 years ago when he met the woman who became his first wife. And he shares his story about obviously all the mistakes he made when he was young and didn't know any better. And how he pretty much would have sounded like rushed into a relationship. How she was the first girl to really pay attention to him. And because of that, he didn't pay attention to the red flags. He obviously let things slide when he shouldn't have. Made the mistake a lot of guys do because, you know, they're growing up. Teenage years, college, not a whole lot of girls pay attention to them, but then they finally mature a little bit and they meet some girl that actually kind of likes them, and they make all the mistakes by kissing her butt, not calling her on her BS, failing all her tests, and getting treated like crap. And the girl loses all respect for them, and yet they keep taking it and take it. And oftentimes, they marry them. It's a big, giant mistake. While guys that have experience with women know not to kiss their butts. If it's warranted, they treat them well, but not too well. And they call them on their BS, which women do want guys to call them on their BS, and you're going to see in a second. And there's some balance and harmony for those guys, and they know what they're doing. But these type of guys make this mistake. And this is a classic mistake nice guys make. And worse yet, they end up marrying these girls. And if they don't really spend time getting to know who they are, they can seriously regret it. And you're going to see here, he marries his woman, and she is a train wreck. I mean, she's nuts. And the effect it has not on him, but also carries on throughout his life. And ultimately, you're going to see this guy will come out all right. He's doing well now, but decades ago, even though he was married to her, there's obviously a ripple effect to what he has to deal with today. So it's very important about that, guys. Obviously, not rush into things, have some self-respect, not to put up with bad treatment and things like that, amongst many other things, which I will point out along the way. And it's a good one here. So it starts off, he says, hello, SSM. As a father of 3 boys, all coming of age, 23, 18, and 15, I watch your channel as well as a few others as to prepare to advise them on what they are entering into. Good, man. You are doing such a service for your sons, because a lot of other dads out there have no clue about a lot of the things I talk about, and other channels as well, and they're going to be ill-prepared to handle reality. So good for you, man. Recently, I was reminded of my past as a husband/father and thought you might like it as a story to share for honesty. And honestly, where I do not consider myself a bait any longer, I certainly was when I was younger, and I'm still paying the price. Or more specifically, others, as you will see. To start my story, I am a 51-year-old man. Rewind about 29 years, and I was a Gulf War veteran. Well, thank you for your service, sir. Anyone who Googles 73 Eastling will get the idea of the ground I walked. I was rather messed up in hindsight, not necessarily understanding what I went through, but one thing I did know was that I like girls, and pretty understandingly, but falsely, that no girl would want me. So I had low self-esteem problems. At the time, I was working as a GED teacher at a local jail. Well, that takes balls to do that. He says, needless to say, the first girl who showed me attention, I grabbed onto, and we got married. See what I'm talking about? That's the worst thing you can do. And a lot of guys think that, oh shit, finally a girl likes me, so I got to grab onto her. And they put her on a pedestal, kiss her butt, and they think everything will work out great. It doesn't work that way, because like literally she is what they expected how things are going to be, and then they do everything they see in movies and TV, and she treats them like crap. I mean, this situation, as I get into it, is literally like the scene of the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off. For those of you that are above 40 years old and up, I'm sure most of you have seen that movie. And I watched it a lot, so I trust me on this. And there's this scene towards the end of the movie where they take his best friend Cameron's Ferrari, his dad's Ferrari, out the whole day in the city. And they go back and he sees the mileage they put on it, because his dad was psycho and kept track of the mileage. He freaks out, has like a panic attack, and goes in like this temporary catatonic state. And Ferris is reflecting on his friend, and he says, and I quote, he says, Cameron has never been in love, or at least no one's ever been in love with him. If things don't change for him, he's going to marry the first girl he lays. And she is going to treat him like shit, because she will have given him what he has built up in his mind as the end-all be-all of human existence. she won't respect him because nobody can respect someone who kisses their ass. It just doesn't work. That scene, what he says there, and you can see I have obviously watched the movie a lot of times, for those of you who have seen that movie, is dead on. That's exactly what we got here. This is the first girl that paid attention to him. He obviously kissed her butt. She gave him exactly what he was hoping for and treated him like shit. And you're going to see more of this. So guys can't do that. You got to spend time working on yourself, get experience, and don't go rushing into anything. Let alone kissing the woman's ass. They won't respect you. They don't respect you, they don't love you, and they treat you like shit. Had to get that out there. It's very important. He says, needless to say, the first girl showed me attention. I did that part. Our relationship was rocky, to say the best. Could have predicted that one. I recall one time while we were dating, she actually got proud of me because she finally got me to yell at her for her actions. Translation, you were such a nice guy. She had pulled a lot of BS, but you would never call her on it. So finally one time when you snapped and yelled at her, she was actually happy. That happened to me once, guys. I told you back in the day, I was a total beta with girls because I didn't know any better. I had moments when I'd get angry and fed up, and I'd go into a temporary bad boy phase, and I would have a lot of success. But the second I went back to being the other way, girls took advantage of me, walked all over me. I had this girl once I was dating, was pulling some BS. I liked her way more than she liked me. Never a good place to be. At one point, she literally says to me, yell at me. And she was dead serious. She wanted me to call her on her shit. But I didn't know. I didn't know anything back then. I was 20 years old, 21 years old. Years later, I ran into her somewhere, and she got serious with a guy, and the first thing she said about him that she liked about him was, wait for it, he doesn't put up with my crap. Right there. Women don't respect you if you tolerate their BS. See? Anyhow. But as I said, we got married, moved in together, and started a life. She liked to wrestle. She used to wrestle with her brother, who was twice my size, and always claimed she could get the best of me, yet never could. The first match I tried to let her win, most smart men would, but she was not satisfied with the victory. Instead, on what I would normally expect, she used it as a macho thing when she degraded me and would put me down. And why are you with this woman who's treating you this way? Because you think that's all is as good as it's going to get. So I told her I'd let her win, and she would never be allowed to win again. After that, every match was the same. We would start, I would control it, she would get violent, she grabbed a nearby shoe and tried to hit me with it. Dude, that's screwed up. In the process of disarming her, her wrist was bent out of shape. This gives you an idea. And would end up hurting herself or exhausting herself until one time when we were done, I remember sitting in my chair and hearing her go through the kitchen drawers. Well, I know what she's going for. I instantly knew what she was doing, going for a knife. So I got out of there and went to her parents and told them what was going on. Dude, she's nuts. You should have gotten out of there permanently. Divorce. But you didn't. See what happens, guys, when you don't have a lot of experience, don't respect yourself, and rush into a situation with a girl you don't know too well and marry her and kiss her butt? Doesn't mean they're all going to do this, but you get my point here. When she came over and willingly admitted that I was right, I told her in front of her parents in a very non-simp way that wrestling was over, and if she thinks she was pulling a knife on me, this attempt was her one, and next time I would use it on her. I wouldn't go saying those words because that could come back to haunt you. You should have ended it right there. And I know he knows this, but making my point. Go forward a little bit in time, and I remember another instance where we were lying in bed. I forgot what brought it on, but she took a swing and hit me in the chest. I told her, don't do that again. She hit me again. I then told her, I love you, but if you hit me again, I will defend myself. So when she hit me a third time, I took about 18-inch swing sideways under the covers and hit her in the side. She stopped. The next day in my class, all of a sudden her father, who worked with me, hence how she and I met, told my students to leave, confronted me stating if I need to hit someone, it should be him. There you go. I lost my temper. I looked at him and asked him, how many times am I supposed to let her hit me before I can defend myself? Do I have to be bleeding from a knife wound before it's okay with you? Then I continued, I told you I would defend myself, and I will, so you have a choice to make. Turn around and walk away, or I take a swing. Where I was mad, I was not going to start it. Needless to say, this would start our downward swing. Dude, it's been a downward swing for a long time. But not before my first son was born. Oh, Lord, you had a child with this woman. But it would not be long after his birth that we would break up. I was getting a promotion, which would move us 600 miles away. She was not having it. When I told her I was taking it, she decided to punish me by getting my best friend drunk and having relations with him. This just gets worse and worse. That, and he wrote that in giant letters, was the end. Thank the Lord, man. You went through a lot of shit for this chick who was this first one. It's just like the Ferris Bueller thing. She will give you what you build up as the end-all be-all of human existence. The first girl that really liked you and gave you some ass. It's like we all could go back in time and take the knowledge we've gained throughout life and put it in our younger selves. Imagine how our lives would be different. This is why I do these things, guys. This is why I break these stories down and give my 2 cents based on all the screw-ups I did when I was younger to help young guys not make these same mistakes. So I appreciate this guy's being honest here and sharing his story here. It takes a lot of guts to do that, and I appreciate all you guys doing this because you're helping people. I share this story and people all over the world hear this, and it helps them out. He says, that was the end. I started the divorce proceedings right after that. The divorce was in California, though, so regardless of tests showing me to be an above average parent, while her test showed that her test to be inconclusive with a high degree of lying, she got custody and I got to pay out the nose. No surprise there. She accused me of physical altercations, as well as everything else under the sun. Failing to feed the child when I had custody with him, etc., etc. That was 19 years ago. Holy crap, dude. So it started 29 years ago. So for 10 years of your life, you were with her? Oh my God. I'm surprised you didn't go crazy. End up in the loony bin. Well, bro, you got through it. So good. Fast forward to yesterday. This son is now 23 years old and working with a chef who's taking him under his wing to teach him how to be a chef. Cool. He is also a black belt. He is a black belt because he and I started when he was 7 years old. I kept going. I'm now a 5th degree black belt in karate. Dude, that's awesome. Good for you, man. That's a serious commitment to do all that. I trained in martial arts for 6 years straight in Krav Maga and Muay Thai kickboxing. I freaking loved it. It was badass. That was until COVID happened and changed everything. But that's awesome, bro. And that's cool you did that with your son. I mean, obviously you can't be in the same class because you're going to have kids classes and adults classes, but you guys can obviously talk about the training. It can be a real bonding thing. And by the way, all fathers should have their sons training in some type of self-defense type of situation starting at a young age, 6 years old, 5 years old. Some schools start at 4 years old, and do it for years. Some of the best ones are boxing, kickboxing, Krav Maga. You know, some martial arts are better, more for obviously sport, but ones that are more street fighting oriented, those are the best ones because they're more realistic. And after a few years of training, it will help them not only have the confidence and self-discipline, which is necessary for so many elements of life, but also know some basic skills because sometimes shit's going to happen. And boys have to stand up for themselves. And this is a lot of things that a lot of mothers don't get. A lot of mothers have the idea they don't want their boys fighting because they say they should go tell the teacher or the principal, or they don't want any violence. But fathers generally understand the only way you're going to get bullying to stop is you got to obviously have a reputation that you can fight back or whip some butt on occasion. It's just, it's unfortunate, but that's how it is. So cool. That's awesome. Good fathering. Anyway, he says, watching, for 23 years, okay, I skipped a part here. He has 2 younger brothers. As of last week, and his youngest brother is now a black belt too. You're a karate family. Cool. So my 23-year-old came out to help test him. Watching the 2 of them spar was almost as rewarding as seeing the youngest get that belt. Yeah, that's awesome. Because the youngest joined Boy Scouts, I helped and became his assistant scout master. The 15-year-old just got his Eagle Scout last August. Dude, you're a good father, man. Very hands-on for your sons. The mistakes you made with the first wife, you have redeemed yourself in being a cool dad. I myself am getting ready to hit 20 years being a database administrator. I have somehow managed to get with my high school sweetheart, and we are now married, and where I can claim her biological children, she and I do not share kids. Well, I hope Marriage number 2 it sounds like it's going pretty well. So, okay, congratulations. Just remember all the lessons you learned from marriage number 1. Don't take any crap. You can treat her in the way that she treats you well. Okay, cool. She's loyal. You're loyal. But don't put her on a pedestal. Don't kiss her butt. I'm sure you've learned all these things if it's worked out this long. And I wish you well. I don't think I could get married if after what you went through the first time around. He says, when my oldest son came out, he did so with my sister. When they left Tuesday, my sister called and told me how my oldest asked if I and another person hurt her in the stomach, hoping she would abort him. Sister? I wonder if he meant to say his ex. I wonder if the writing was off. My ex had told him that, and he lived with it for God knows how long. Oh, so his ex-wife, the crazy one, told him that they tried to physically do things so that she couldn't have him. That's an awful thing that he has to grow up thinking. No, I never did that, much less have someone help me. When I knew she was pregnant, I could not wait for his birth. But what pain he had been living through, and for how long. So now his ex, the crazy ex, it's coming back to haunt him, and now she's trying to mess up the kids. It was bad enough the first time around, but now trying to mess up the son. This is why, guys, it's so important that you spend time getting to know who you're with. And if you get married, be extremely careful. Because not only could she mess you up, but also your kids. And this could go on for your life. I am soon to turn 51, and right now I would not think myself a beta by any means. When I got rid of her, I went out and got what I wanted. In spite of the child support, which even though he is 23, I'm still 2 years from paying it off. It's not just the child support, it's the trying to be a good father, traveling to get him every chance I got, and getting him to be a black belt in my town. But God was I back then. A beta, yeah. You were, but dude, so was I. And I'm absolutely no problem admitting the way I was when I was younger, because I didn't know any better. I had no one to teach me. Here's the thing, my dad was very much an alpha. But I didn't want to listen to him because he would tell me things with regards to women that I didn't want to hear. I should have listened to his wisdom. The first time a girl broke up with me, and it really hurt me hard, I was 16, the beginning of the 11th grade. And my dad saw obviously how upset I was, and he said, pretty much, you're young, you should have lots of girlfriends. That was his attitude. I should have listened. It finally made sense to me later on in life. So I made all these mistakes, but I learned, and you learned. And now your knowledge and what you went through can help your boys. And that's awesome. But even now, 19 years after all the custody and divorce proceedings, which due to distance lasted years, she is still trying to find ways to reach out and hurt those she sees as hurting her. Yeah, of course, because she's nuts. That's all she has. Your 23-year-old son is a man now, and so you can be quite direct about your past with her. I get it when he was a little kid, he didn't want to say too much, but now you can be quite honest. And I'm sure at this point he's well aware. He says, she lives alone. No one wishes to be around her. Well, there's a giant surprise. Her latest complaint from my oldest is that he would not loan her $800 to pay her electric bill. He says she took the COVID money to pay her bills for a period and went to a local casino and blew it all there. But would help pay a friend and a wife and 2 children to have Thanksgiving. She actually called him Captain Save a you-know-what. Moral of the story, as men, our only barriers are those we put in front of us. Yes. We create our world. We create our own destiny. I did a 50-mile mountain bike ride in August, and I intend to do so again. But back then, I let my emotions get in the way, made some seriously stupid mistakes, and now that I am doing better than well, and he says I make close to 6 figures in an area where such is unheard of, I'm still paying for the simping I did when I was younger. More importantly, those I love who had nothing to do with my choices back then also have to pay. Yeah, exactly. So he's sharing his wisdom to the young guys out there. For those of you that do relationships and all that, take your time. Really get to know the girl. Get to know her very well before you even consider being in an exclusive relationship. 6 months minimum, if not longer. Because believe me, if she really likes you, it'll attract her that she has to work to get you. Because we all appreciate things that we have to work to get. If you think about it, if you had to save money for a while to get something, you appreciate it more. You handle it better and all that. as opposed to something that was just given to you and yet it just fell into your lap. It's the same thing with relationships and dating. With a woman, when a guy she can have like that, she doesn't respect him. He's not a prize. It was easy. But the guys that she have to chase after to work hard to get, those are the ones they really want and the respect. And the guys that they're aware that that guy could replace her like that. They see him as a prize. They don't mess with him. Has their respect. And on top of the length of time it takes to get into a relationship, to give her that commitment, if you do that, then you take years and years and years and years before you even consider, if that's what you want to do, get married. To see how she handles all sorts of scenarios in the world, to see what she's like when hardship comes, because it's going to happen. When you have fights, is she a good communicator? How is she with money? Is she more of a spender and pisses it all away on bullshit? Or does she more likely to be a saver? All these things to see. Keep your eyes open for the red flags, etc., etc. At that point then, if you decide to take that leap, and I do mean leap, and get hitched, at least you got a lot on your side to see that she could end up being all right. But even then, you know my opinion about marriage, but let's be real here. There's plenty of dudes that are going to do it anyway because they want a family, it's religion, culture, you name it. And you have that. And hopefully the odds will be more in your favor. But if you just jump into it, race into it like this guy did, because he was young, he didn't have a lot of experience, he didn't know any better, and he thought, yes, I got the one, yes. And she gave him the end-all, be-all, just like what Ferris Bueller said. Look what happened. So I'm glad he's doing well. He sounds like an awesome dad. This guy sounds like a guy I'd like to have a beer with. And that's awesome with the karate for being a 5th degree black belt. This guy can whip some ass. So good job, sir. All right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Know what you think about this. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.